most people in general don't choose to be poor, but
who chooses to be poor?
I think she just...
Who chooses to be poor? So why is she even on the poor side?
Yeah.
At all? Why is she choosing to be
Why
poor?
did she choose that?
Why did she? Hey there, Lincoln here from BowlAcademy.org. Today we're gonna watch, what is it called? Rich versus Poor?
Yes.
Rich versus Poor is the economy rigged by Jubilee, Middle Ground. And Tab's already seen it. I don't believe I've seen it yet. It's from, 6 months ago?
2 months.
2 months ago. Me and Tab we don't have exactly the same thoughts on this, and we're in different economic buckets. So we come from different perspectives. We were both poor, so we know how that feels. And we've both come a very long way. So we have perspectives that will be able to provide some nuanced opinions in this discussion. I hope you enjoyed this video. I didn't say that on this channel what we do is we focus on investing, teaching how to invest in the stock market to build long-lasting sustainable wealth by investing for the long term. And people in this video seem to be investors. They have their own businesses. They do real estate investing, stock market investing, and some of them don't. So that also provides reason for why some people might say the things they do, and the others might say, hey, you're cheating the rest of us out of our society. So we'll see how this goes. Let's dive in.
As a real estate guy, I can make millions of dollars and use the exact same tax loopholes that a Donald Trump would use and pay effectively no tax. And does that make me a bad guy, or did I just study the tax code?
That makes you a bad guy.
Is that what you said too? It makes you a bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't agree, but let's get to that point. We'll see.
This is a nice intro.
Yeah, this is a nice intro. Rich and poor.
Step forward if you agree. Being poor is a choice.
Oh, a choice?
It's a heavy hitter.
Only the black woman? Wow.
The two
I
black
do not
women.
want to be disingenuous to ignore systemic issues that we all
It seems
experience,
backwards.
but I feel like it's 2021 and there's a lot of free resources. I mean, Facebook has a lot of free courses. I think that poor is also a mindset.
I agree. Originally, when I came out here, I started straight at the homeless shelter. I had to flee from domestic violence from my family. Most people in general don't choose to be poor, but since I've been here, specifically in LA,
Who chooses to be poor?
I think she just...
Who chooses to be poor?
Well, the question was, what is it? Being poor is a choice.
Yeah.
And then she just said,
Most people
don't choose. So I don't know why she stepped up, but
Who?
I mean...
who? Tell me one person who chooses being poor.
Yeah, and I also don't... I don't really appreciate the mindset that poor... I don't appreciate the wording that poor is a mindset.
Yeah.
Like, if you're living a certain lifestyle, if you're living a non-privileged lifestyle, then of course your mindset is going to be, different than someone
Surviving.
who's more privileged lifestyle. So it's like, oh, well, you're poor, but you also have a poor mindset, so fix your mindset. It's like,
I'm
what?
poor. I'm focusing on eating and making sure there's food on the table for my kids.
Yeah.
I don't quite have time to go watch 1,000 courses on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right?
That word that you use, survival, I think that is the key word.
Yeah.
rather be in the tents.
I mean, I grew up poor, so I have been on both sides of the coin, and I can reflect and look back on some of the lifestyle choices that I was making, some of the people that I was hanging around. So I don't think that people can initially control if they're born into poverty, but I think that there is a certain level of control that comes along with being able to have that determination and that resilience.
So I do want to say, just for some context, we've both been poor. I said that Tab lived in projects. I lived in very poor neighborhoods, and I had privilege to come to where I've come. And I'm at a point where I'm making lots of money, and as a software engineer, and I can definitely see where she's coming from. That you can work hard and you can get out of the hardships that you've been in. I've done that. People do it. But not everyone can do that. Not everyone is choosing to not do that. So to say, oh, it's a choice, just on the premise of the question itself, being poor is a choice, I can't say it's a choice. my mom didn't choose to be poor, right? She came to a country that she was new to, and she had to work super hard because no one would give her a chance, and so she had to take not so great jobs and put food on the table. She didn't have time to go read up on the latest real estate news. And even if you try to do that, you need money to buy real estate. So you have to work very hard, but at the same time, continue to put food on the table. So yeah, I don't know where this lady, I do know she's made it. And so she says, oh, I did it. Everyone else can. Well, that's not the case. You're a survivor. You're an outlier. Some people make it out of a system despite the hardships. It's not because of the hardships and just because of their own might and merit. Of course, you can work hard, but if you don't get lucky along the way, you can stay where you are.
Yeah, I think one other thing, which is just very obvious, is like, if you think that people choose to be poor, then give someone the choice. Like, if you have money and if you have $100,000,
she's poor.
Yeah, so why does the rich woman here give that poor woman a choice? Like, do you want to choose to be poor, or I can help you? It's like, obviously anyone is going to take help, but people aren't given the choice between, let me give you all of this help, or do you want to stay in your position? It's like, just stay in your position and see what you can do.
But she's still poor. She's on this show on the poor side. So why is she even on the poor side at all? Why is she choosing to be poor?
Why did she choose that?
Why did she choose that?
I think this video should be titled, from her perspective, why did you choose to be poor?
Oh, here's the thing about Americans that my mom always told me, the temporarily embarrassed rich person, right? Millionaire. And it's one of those quotes that everyone knows about. My mom told me when I was a kid that Americans believe that they're temporarily embarrassed rich people because they're on their way. They're going to make it. They're going to get there. They're just embarrassed right now. Don't look at them, right? They're going to get there. They're going to be rich. And so she is still poor, but doesn't understand that she's not choosing to be poor. She just is not rich. Like, she can just say tomorrow, oh, I'm rich now. I'm done being poor. If that's the case, why haven't she done that? I don't know one poor person who would say, hey, I don't want any more money. Right? Don't help me at all.
Yeah.
I don't need you. I don't want anything from you.
Yeah.
I don't want anything at all. Right? So it's a contradiction. It's very hard to even wrap your mind around.
Yeah. Many more thoughts, but I think we'll probably get to them throughout the video.
This is going to be a long one. Yeah. Buckle up. It's going to be a long video.
We need to realize that these people are on the street not because of their own choosing, but because of the system that we live in perpetuates these things.
If I could speak to that, I come from a family that once relied on welfare and food stamps.
Same.
And I have been blessed enough to make millions of dollars in real estate. But had I bought real estate from 2005 to 2008, I'd probably be bankrupt today. I just bought it at the right time.
People wish to be rich, they don't want to be rich. The difference is, do you take action? That being said, I agree with a lot of points you're making about people not really having the resources or the opportunity to have any kind of action plan.
Some people don't even want to be rich. Like, I don't want to be rich. But I also don't want to be poor. I'm happy in the middle. And I would want to live in a society where they could perpetuate people to live themselves out of poverty through programs and just be in the middle.
Billionaires should not exist.
Mm-hmm.
This is a tough one.
I don't think it's that tough.
I think it's pretty tough.
Spend $1 billion. It's not a necessity to have that much money, and I feel like there is a certain cap in which, like, you can completely survive and thrive with this amount of money, and then if you surpass that, you're just hoarding.
And then we've seen what people with billions of dollars are doing with their money. They're going to space for fun. Clearly, if we tax those people properly, they get their wealth and distribute it to people who need it, that'd be a much better use than going to space for fun.
Here's the thing. Well, I want to hear your side first, and then I'll get into mine.
Well, I'll say, you'll notice that David is like the hero. In my opinion, he's just the best character.
The light blue?
Yep, the light blue.
Okay.
So I agree. I agree that billionaires should not exist. This is a newfound thought of mine.
Yeah, I should say that Tab used to be way on the conservative side of things.
What? Where is that coming from?
Well, you're not conservative, but you think the way they do when it comes to wealth and money, what you used to.
Yes, absolutely.
And now you found a new path forward.
Yeah. So I do agree with pretty much the sentiment, but I think David's last point on like going to space for fun, that's kind of a bad use of money. But I do think that we should, of course, what is it? Elon Musk I think it's great that he invests in space exploration and all of that, because that's super important. I think to his point, like going to space for fun is not a good use of money, but like investing in science and in space is a good thing.
Yeah. So I think this question's tough because I agree that being a billionaire is a flaw of the system, but they don't have $1 billion in cash. And I know that's also a nuanced statement, because what I'm saying is that it's not like they have all this cash. They barely want cash because cash gets taxed. And so the issue is that they're just playing the system. The system says if you just have stocks or any asset that accrues value, that is pretty much as good as money, right? The fact that you have this valuable stock or this real estate property or some business that you built over some time, and it went from being valued at $100 to $1 million over 10 years, that means you now have $1 million of capital gains. But as long as you don't sell that and it doesn't become cash, it doesn't become income, then we can't tax you on it because you don't actually have that cash, you don't have that income. And so what they do instead of getting that cash, the Elon Musk and the Jeff Bezos and anyone who is clever about the tax system as it is set up, which is the only way I think it can be set up, because how are you going to tax someone for something they don't have? And so what they do instead is they buy, so they invest into assets, they accrue gains, and then they borrow against those gains, and then they die. They never sell their assets. They rarely sell their assets. We've done a video on this before, how the wealthy pay less taxes than you do. This is exactly what they do. They invest, borrow, die. That's it. So as long as they never get income, any cash, they don't get taxed. And so all of their wealth is in their assets, right? So the system doesn't tax that as their fault. It's the system's fault, but it's kind of hard because how do you tax them if they're not going to sell their assets? And so what they do is just go to the bank and say, hey, I have all this valuable stock. I have this big business that I built. I have real estate. Let me borrow against that. If I don't pay back my debt, you can take all of that from me until you get back your money. And so the bank says, hey, why not? Here's $100,000. Go buy a yacht. Go build another business. And so they build another business that becomes more valuable over time. And then they go to the bank, another bank, and say, hey, I have all these valuable assets. Let me borrow some cash against that. And because debt is not taxed, because it's not income, it's not your money, then you don't get taxed on it. We don't tax debt. And I don't know how we could. So that's how you get to the point where you have all these billionaires, because they don't actually have that cash. It's just assets, right? And part of the issue with the assets is that they need that to maintain control of their businesses. And so then you get into the issue of, well, the only reason that their stocks are going up in value so much in their real estate and their business is because they're not paying their employees well. And so they take all that money and just buy stocks, buy back their own stock, or just reinvest in the business, and they're paying the laborers, the workers, starvation wages, which is awful. We should increase minimum wage. I make 100,000 some, right? Almost 200,000, but I want minimum wage to be increased because selfishly, if minimum wage increases, my wage is also going to increase because it helps everyone. So even if you're selfish and you don't care about people who are poor and making minimum wage, you should also be upset that these billionaires and any other person who is just hoarding all of their money from their business instead of paying their employees in money, and then using that hoarded money, investing into the business again to do other things, increase the stock price, right? And then building up their wealth and becoming a billionaire through that means, that's where I say it's very tricky, because it's a very nuanced situation that we want to encourage enterprise and building and holding on to assets, but we also should force these people to pay people what they should so that they can actually live and be a productive part of the economy. Because if they're not productive in the economy, then it hurts all of us. So yeah, I think it's very complicated, this question. I think this is the most complicated question that we're going to see here. But
hey there, I just want to ask a quick favor before we continue. First, thanks for taking your time to watch this video. We hope you're enjoying it because it was a labor of love to make. You can help us continue to make more videos like this by simply liking the video below, subscribing to the channel, and commenting any thoughts you have. Even if you just want to say hi, it truly helps the channel grow and is important to the YouTube algorithm. So before we continue with the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying it. Thanks in advance, and let's get back to it.
I filibustered so far, but if you want to respond before I...
Well, I have a thought, because I understand what you're saying and what the billionaires are probably thinking on, like, oh, I'm cash poor, but why can't they just extend that problem that they have, or, you know, that privilege that they have onto their employees? Like, you can still maintain, I don't know, 50% or 40% or however much you want over your business while giving employees even, like, I don't know, 0.3% of the shares of the company. Like, if you've been at a company, I don't know, maybe for 5 years, then you get a certain amount of shares. Like, there are people who have been employed with companies for their whole lives, and then, you know, maybe they get an injury and then they're out of work or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, like they have the opportunity to share the wealth, and in every sense of the word, with cash and with assets, and they just choose not to. So I feel like there's just really no excuse for why billionaires should exist. I understand why the economy allows for it, why there's that loophole, but I don't know. I would love to hear a billionaire explain why they can't extend any of their...
Well, I can explain.
Okay.
No, they're on there, but I have equity in every business I ever worked at, the shares you're talking about.
Yep.
And I choose to work for companies that give me equity because I want to own part of the business. Otherwise, I'm working at a job that I don't have any ownership of the upside potential. I don't have a stake in that. But that also is risky for me because I'm taking a risk. I'm taking less cash salary and in return for more equity or some equity, right? And not everyone's want to do that. And the reason that I can do this is because I'm so early in these businesses that I work for. I work for Medium, I work for Future, I work for GoPuff. And those are pretty risky businesses. They may not work out. So there's risk and reward. Most people are working for companies that are already well established, have been around for decades and centuries, right? So not centuries. IBM's been around for 100 years plus. So AT&T and the like. So not everyone's looking for equity because they understand, or they will understand, the government understands that they might not be fully understanding of the risk that includes. So some businesses that are public, we have friends who work at startups that get equity, right? So some businesses do give many businesses actually give their employees stock because they want them to have ownership. They want them to have that feeling of that they own the place because they'll do better work that way. So I would say more businesses should do that. I agree with you, but there's reasons that they don't do that. And part of that is that, hey, I built this from the ground up. You weren't here shooting the gym with me back in the day when I was in the garage and maxing out my credit cards to keep this thing alive. Even on the public markets. A few years ago, I bought Tesla when people were saying it was going to go bankrupt. The stock fell so far, I got it for about less than $200 per share. Today is what? $1,900 per share? That was just 2 years ago. So I took that risk. Everyone could take that risk, right? But people didn't because they got too afraid. And so if I give all of my employees stock and then they're like, oh, I'm afraid, and then my stock just crashes because my employees don't understand the risk reward, then that also hurts the business that I just spent 20 years building. So I wouldn't say there's no reason, but there is good reason that they should pay more. They should definitely be paying more
Yes. So yeah, I think that's it. Either you pay your employees more in cash, or if you want them to be loyal employees, like don't give them, I don't know, mugs or something. Give them. Just don't give me like a coffee cup. Like give me equity. And they'll touch on that more later. They'll ask a very similar question later. But if either of those things were done, billionaires would not exist, because it wouldn't be in the policy for them to hoard all of their wealth.
This is something Bernie Sanders talks about. Yeah.
Well, Bernie's guy.
Bernie's the man.
Personally, I don't think there's an issue with billionaires existing. The issue for me is that they need to be held accountable the same way poor people do. And I'm talking about the justice system.
Yep.
When you look at a lot of billionaires who have gotten that way because of the just incredible amount of value they've given to society. I won't even talk about a huge, crazy billionaire. I'll talk about Jay-Z, who's a billionaire.
Don't bring up Jay-Z.
That's how he became a billionaire. And so I don't think it's the government's job to interject and say, okay, you have too much, we need to give it away. I mean, it would also never happen in any other arena. No one's going to go, hey, Simone Biles, you have too many gold medals. We're going to take them from you.
He's a reasonable one.
To the other people who weren't as talented as you.
He's probably the most reasonable rich one.
I completely disagree. I feel like that is the government's job. And Jay-Z, like you said, Jay-Z made his money from music. That's his labor. He's a musician. He's selling his talent. But then when he invested in the alcohol, then he's using other people who are harvesting the wheat, the agave. They're breaking their back. They're using their labor.
So do you think you shouldn't invest in those people? Should they just say, the hell with your dreams, I'm not going to invest in you?
Don't have employees?
What do you mean?
They're having jobs.
Yeah, but how much are they getting paid for the jobs? All those jobs.
He doesn't know how much they're getting paid.
They're getting paid pennies.
Yeah,
and then Jay-Z makes.
Yeah, maybe for Jay-Z specifically, but for, most companies, not well.
Well, that's the government's job. That's what this guy said. I wish they would give us their names. Did they give us his name?
This guy?
No, the black guy.
No.
He was.
There's no black guy.
What is he? He has to be mixed at least. The guy said was reasonable. Yeah, it's the government. The government's not doing its part. We haven't increased minimum wage since 2007. It was at $7.25. It's been 15 years. Studies say today that it should be at least $30 per hour now. $30. That's a difference of $23 that people are not making right now.
Yeah.
So that's not Jay-Z's fault. Jay-Z is just playing the game. Whoever else is just playing the game. I don't know anything about Jay-Z. Let's not disparage Jay-Z's name because we don't know what the numbers are. But anyone who owns a business, and this is what we're talking about the other night, it's really up to the government to say, hey, you have to pay this much. But then when it comes to the business owner, it's about what kind of company you want to build, right? It's about, do you want people to be invested in your company, even if you're not giving them equity, but to really feel like they belong, that they are building a good culture and they aren't just being maximally exploited, right? So you treat them better. You say, hey, I'm going to give you, I know minimum wage is $7.25, but I'm going to give you $15 per hour because that's what I believe is a fair wage in this economy. And and I can do that because my business is doing well enough. You're helping us actually make money. So if I can do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give you a fair wage because I want you to be happy and continue to come back and work hard when I'm not looking and do what's best for the business. And I can't ask you to do that. I can't expect it of you if I'm maximally exploiting you, right? Right. So I know it's a transaction. But if you can give people a little bit more reason to say, hey, I care a little bit, they will care. People want to do a good job. And if you give them a little bit of incentive, they will do that good job. So for myself, I'm paying people more. My team gets paid more than minimum wage because why not? I can do that. It pays for itself. It's an investment in the people. So yeah. Government.
I think we agree on this. I had a thought. So I agree that it is the government's job to really set the standard, and it's a shame that the government isn't doing that. But if the government isn't going to do it, then I don't think business owners should just say. And I think there's obviously mom and pop businesses, we can't ask them to pay someone like $70,000 a year. But for most corporations, I think we should have an expectation that even though the government isn't mandating you to do something, if you can do it, there is no excuse not to do it.
Yeah.
It's like there's only upside, like you said.
Yeah.
People are just going to be more devoted to your company and, you know, actually do the work when you're not looking, and there won't be as high turnover, which turnover is very expensive. So there's just no excuse. I just feel like there's no excuse for a lot of these questions. Of course, there's some nuance to it, but the overarching answer is no.
There's greed. Yes, I think what you're saying is the people are greedy and they're acting against their own best interest
and hiding behind
policy.
Lack of policy or policy.
Exactly. Yeah. I was going to say something about the mom and pops. I feel like I'll just real quick. We can get to it later, but with mom and pops, if you cannot do business in the way that you're going to be able to sustain yourself and pay your employees a good wage, maybe you shouldn't be in business. That's also something.
Just maybe you should not have employees.
Yeah, have less employees. So, but minimum wage has not been shown to drastically impact mom and pops when we increase it. So it's sure there's a little bit of impact, but the economy is doing so well. There's graphs that show productivity just rising so far above the minimum wage, right? Productivity has gone parabolic, but minimum wage has just flatlined.
Yeah.
So workers are producing more profits for businesses, including mom and pops, but they're not getting paid anymore. So mom and pops can most likely afford it. They're just also being greedy. Everyone's being greedy.
Yeah. And I just have to say, the harder you work, the more work that they give you, because they know that you can take it. But your salary doesn't increase with your workload. So it's just like, I don't know. It's almost like the harder you work, the more you dig yourself.
The more you're exploiting yourself.
Is that their labor?
How much do you pay your employees?
You think harvesting doesn't even exist? Asian doesn't invest?
If I may interject, I pay my employees like incredibly well, and I let them choose their own.
That's a reasonable guy.
Someone who works for me is a single mother. I pay her $50 an hour. And I think that people that are providing jobs and opportunities, you can hate on them all you want, but at the end of the day, like, nobody would work that job if it wasn't in some way, shape, or form worth it.
People who make $1 billion get a fraction of the value they create.
No one makes $1 billion, just to be clear.
What do you mean?
That's what I was explaining. No one makes that.
That's in terms of cash.
Yeah, you don't actually make that as income.
Right.
If you did, then you wouldn't have $1 billion. That's the whole point.
Anybody here who has a business understands that. Even Jay-Z only gets 15 cents a record he sells. Okay?
That's because he got exploited by the record label who's using to make
That's
money.
fair.
You can't use this word exploited in the record business, of which I'm in. Okay? Record labels back hundreds of artists. Do you know how many go bust up?
He's taking it personally.
Okay? They're taking risks in an artist by the tapes, paying the engineers, marketing, etc. They're exploiting them. They're taking on them. Yes,
they're exploiting them. He's acting like they're doing that for charity. He's acting like it's for charity. Like they haven't calculated how many artists they can afford to have flop, and then which ones will pay off. It's like VCs, venture capitalists. They expect 9 out of 10 businesses that they invest in to just go flop because they know that once every 10 years, they're going to find that one who's a unicorn, who gets to $1 billion in valuation. And that's the same thing they do. He's acting like they're doing it for charity. It's not charity.
Yeah, and he's acting like the concept of exploitation is just like why would you, that's not even relevant. Why would you bring that up? That happens in literally every industry. Why would it not happen in the music industry?
It's literally how capitalism is defined. It's a system of exploitation. I'm a capitalist, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth of the matter. You can't just deny it.
Yeah, I feel like a common theme in this video and just in life, someone brings up a very simple and, in my opinion, valid point, and the person who disagrees with it is just like, that's outrageous.
I do declare.
Yeah. Like, how dare you even, that's not even relevant here. Yeah. How dare, it's just like, it's so simple though. Yeah. Why are you attacking me for... Well, first of all, I'm experiencing this or something very similar. Second of all, it's a very simple concept. Why are you pretending that it's not happening when it obviously is?
You've besmirched his name, that's why.
Yes.
Yeah. He's taken it personally.
He is.
A bet. And they can't just give everybody 50-50. They'll go bankrupt. You don't understand.
No one's asking for that.
Nobody's asking for 50. Okay.
Well, what kind of argument is this?
Yeah, nobody's asking for 50-50.
Yeah, I'm not the words exploiting, like you know what you're talking about, but you don't.
That's why
they're not exploiting.
That's why there's one Jay-Z and not millions.
Exactly.
I actually want to ask the question of how you define exploited and why you're saying that.
I'm using exploited in the Marxian term where your labor creates value and then your employer takes that value and distributes it unevenly to themselves and then leaves the rest for the workers. That's exploitation.
You can't disagree with that.
My name is
And I guess they didn't.
They did. They probably did. They just had to cut it.
True, yeah.
Character department, and I make around $33,000 a year.
Oof.
How's your experience been working at Disneyland?
My experience working at Disneyland
That's
is
nothing.
very mixed. The workers
Because he works in California.
Oh,
Too,
or
so-
Disneyland. Yeah, that's
Disneyland,
California,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah, you can assume that he lives in like Southern California, or maybe he lives near it. But yeah, that's so
giving me
this
chills.
guy. Yeah, he knows.
Yeah, he knows it.
He's living it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't live on that.
No.
I think that's how much I made as an intern in 2017 when I was at Medium. I don't know, it's around there probably because I wasn't there forever. I was only there for a few months. But if you extrapolate it, I was living in like a shoebox, making like 1,000, what was it, 2,000 a month or something like that. I think that's how much he's making.
Yeah.
Just over 2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Under 3,000 a month. He definitely has a couple of roommates in California.
Yeah.
But his Disneyland, how much is Disney worth? Disney's worth like hundreds of billions of dollars, and they can't afford to pay their Disneyland workers more than what they need to survive.
Yeah. The Walt Disney's, I think, great granddaughter has many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really being an activist.
She is.
Yeah, and they're not happy with that. Yeah, Disney's worth $256 billion. It's a lot of money.
Oh.
And they are making lots of money in profits, $1 per share in earnings.
It's just sickening because Disneyland would not be what it is if people like him weren't willing to, I think he said he works in like costumes, if people like him weren't willing to get into a hot costume for several hours a day and like interact with children. So how
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's just like if you cannot be what you are without your employees, which show me a company that can't be what it is without its employees, then how could you justify paying them $33,000 a year in California? It just doesn't add up. I think it's cruel. I think it's cruel.
Yeah, it is cruel.
Okay.
It's definitely cruel. But again, the government has to do some part. If they at least stepped in and raised minimum wage, he could at least afford his own apartment. He wouldn't be a great apartment, but at least he has an apartment of his own. Or he has enough money to raise a family. Our system, our whole world runs on continue to populate the world. If we run out of kids, then we don't have a society. If we all get old, who's gonna take care of us? Right? The economy doesn't work without young people. So if you say, oh well, he can't afford a kid, and so he shouldn't have one, well, that's dumb because we need kids. So there's really, it's all against our best interest.
Yeah.
As a society.
Yeah.
My coworkers are amazing people. Unfortunately, the company is not so great. They don't pay us that much. They have enough money to pay us more. I think they should just pay us more. But I don't think they're going to do that. That's why I'm advocating for a union to bargain in our favor.
Ooh.
My name is Jinny, and
That's a
I'm
bold
a
statement.
software
Yeah, he said it on
design
YouTube.
And this year I'm going to be taking home about $400,000. When I started my business, that was like all consuming for me. Everything I did in my life was for business. And so I think my partner felt a lot of neglect. And so a lot of our arguments, a lot of the times that we had issues were because of my absence. The economy is rigged.
Dave has not disagreed once.
If you're
Looks
born
like
in a
he's
rich
stepping up
family,
now.
you have more opportunities. And as someone who is poor, living paycheck to paycheck, you're stuck having to apply to jobs and
this guy.
for things that you don't like instead of being able to follow your passions.
I agree and disagree. I agree that it's rigged to incentivize certain areas and behaviors, like we have millions and millions of farm subsidies. So it supports agribusiness. It may support one area like real estate or capital investment over labor. But I don't think it's generally rigged to basically keep the rich guy rich and the poor guy poor. That part I'll disagree. But there are certain policies like the reinvestment in productive people's hands for building real estate. I would say that's a good thing. Right?
I don't think productive people. Like, do you just mean people with money?
No, I mean people that actually take that money, organize people, put it to work, and create value. That's what I mean by productive people.
But who creates the value? It's the workers who create the value.
Listen, there's people who take risks and they risk their money. That's creating value. What you discount is the person willing to risk their savings, okay, and provide capital for that venture, and to be paid less. So if it goes bust up, the worker still gets paid.
That's right.
If it doesn't. If it goes well, the worker gets paid.
But so far he's given, I want to say, no credit to, as David is saying, to the workers.
But that's his argument. He's saying you're discounting the other side, the one I'm arguing for.
Nobody is saying, I mean, of course people wouldn't have jobs without the people who invested their money and their time to create a company that supplies jobs. Like, nobody is saying that people like him are not valuable. They're obviously incredibly valuable. But all David is saying is the people who work for people like this guy are incredibly valuable as well and deserve the respect and investment that is needed to survive like halfway comfortably in America.
Yeah.
And the investor makes money. Discount the role of capital and savings in any type of venture. Like my mom didn't want to be rich. She wanted to be a school teacher and work and do that and live in the middle ground, and that's fine. But there are people like me who want to take a lot of risks.
I'm sorry. I'm one of those people who, obviously I'm very different from you. I like to just like live my life. I don't like spending a lot of time working, but nobody, I feel like the point that he brought up around teachers, that is the worst example because it's classic that we don't pay teachers enough. So that's just like a classic example of, teachers have immense value, and yeah, they do decide to take, a pretty, safe route, but they're also not being paid enough. And they're extremely valuable. So I don't really know where he's going with that.
Well, we should hear him out, but again, the teacher thing is the government's fault. They have full control over that.
Yeah, that's true.
And get a lot of reward. And we put that capital to work. And you should respect that. Hi, my name is Bill Perkins. I run a hedge fund. I do investments and other things.
Hedge fund guy.
How much I make.
That means
sometimes I lose money.
They take other people's money and they invest it and also hedge against loss. So all they do, I've said this on the channel so many times, they barely make returns, but they get paid management fees. And so they make their money pretty much ripping off people who don't know better, that they can manage their own money better than they can. Because these guys barely beat the market, if they do at all. And they're literally paid not to lose money. So if they come to you and say, oh, I got 7% this year, and you're paying me 2%, well, the S&P 500 did 7% last year. They actually did 15% last year. You did 7%. S&P 500 cost barely anything to invest in as an index fund. Why are you charging me 2%? Because I'm smart. I'm the hedge fund runner. I know better. So you pay me 2%. And I'll pretend that I'm doing very well. But what I'm actually doing is just not losing your money and betting against other people who are taking risk. So he's talking about people taking risks, but part of his job is to bet against them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't like hedge funds, but hey, they have their role, I guess, in the society.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Money, but I'd say on average over $10 million a year. Woo. I took care of my dad in the last years of his life.
Did you say next $10 million?
Yes.
I did not inherit the money. I made it myself. I really don't care about the money. Money is a tool for me to have the experiences that I want to have out of life. And there are many experiences that I want to have.
He wants those experiences. Everyone else does too.
Yeah,
you have to have a certain level of awareness and knowledge to know the rules of the game. And I think that there are barriers put in place to kind of prevent people from knowing the rules, but I think that it's out there and you can have access to it, and it's, you know, I think that
I agree with you. Different. I know the rules, and I think they're disgusting. That's why I want to
Why don't you play the game then? I mean, you can...
I think they're disgusting. Why do I want to play the game?
You know, this is where David has to lose. Any reasonable person.
Why?
You can't change the game. The game is the game. You alone cannot change the game. So if you want to be pragmatic and not completely just a purist about it, but still be a good person, what you can do is have a movement, but you need to have resources to have that movement. So while you're acting against and trying to be an activist, you have to play the game to acquire those resources. And then you can use those resources to make the system better. There are billionaires who exist, like the TYT guys. There are people who fund TYT. And they're billionaires, but they're the good ones. So if you say, oh, I hate the game, the rules are disgusting, and you sit out, well, then all the people who are wealthy are going to be the bad guys. So you're doing a disservice to yourself. So you play the game, you play it well, you don't be completely evil, right? If you want to say it's exploitation, yeah, that's part of the system. That's how it works. I'm sorry. That's the game. But you have to play it. So you play it, you get your funds, you get your resources, and then you leverage those resources to lobby. The people who make all of the policies in our country are the people who are wealthy. They buy the politicians. So if you want to buy the politicians too, which you shouldn't be able to, it's the Supreme Court's fault. I think it was 1970s that they made that what's it called? Companies are people too, so they can lobby for their policies that they want. And so now we have rigged elections and corruption and legalized bribery in our system where people can just buy a politician. And so the people who are wealthy, people who run Fox News and all those other corrupt systems and businesses, they buy the politicians with their funds. There are people who are good as well who also buy politicians with their funds and do good stuff with it. So you could be one of them. And you don't have to be at the top level at Congress. You can be at your local government and say, hey, local politician, I'm going to fund you. This is how the system works. I'm working to change it, but I'm going to fund you right now to do what I want, to help stop police brutality. That's what I care about. So I'm going to fund you. I'm going to buy you to do that. So you can play the game at the same time as trying to fight against it and make it better, right? So I don't like the whole, I'm not going to play the game at all. I'm going to stay poor and complain about it. I mean, you can't just sit down and then complain from the sidelines.
Well, so I get what you're saying, but I don't know what David's work schedule is like, but how do you find the time to play the game and, get involved in your local government when you need, I can imagine that David needs, if he's getting by on one job, that's great. I feel like to have a more comfortable life, he'd probably need 2 jobs. So how do you play the game when you literally need 2 jobs just to afford maybe a small studio apartment by yourself where you can get food and, pay for transportation?
He can't afford a studio.
Exactly, yeah. So he, like we want people to play the game, but we're not even giving them enough money to comfortably, live a day-to-day life. So trying to play the game while you're not in that, I feel like it's just a privilege that maybe you or I have, but...
No, I think my privilege is that I've worked very hard to make a lot of money, and so now I have more money to put to work. But the money is the acquired privilege. He can also make that investment. When I was in school, I worked harder than everyone else who was in school, and now I make a lot more money than them. He can do the same. He doesn't make much money now, but if he lives way below his means, which isn't great, but that's part of playing the game. You have to save. So if he saves and my parents make less than he does. Both my parents make less than him and they're older than him. And they bought multiple properties in Philadelphia. It's doable because they saved up aggressively while putting us through school. Well, helping me get through school. I had lots of scholarships, but they had to help me with the edges. They did all of that, buying property with less money than David. David makes well more than they do. So if they could do it, he can too. It's just that you have to live below your means. And that's part of playing the game. Is not fair. I know, but the world is not fair. So it is possible. But you cannot just be a purist and say, I'm not going to play at all. I'm not going to save any money and try to better my situation. It's not great that you're in that situation. We got to fix it. We got to increase minimum wage. But until we do, change is very slow. Until that happens, you have to play the game and try to force the system to get there. If you're at the bottom, I'm Lincoln, and you are watching BoAcademy.org. If you enjoyed this video, please do remember to like it below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and comment your thoughts below. All of your engagement means a lot to the channel and helps us grow because YouTube's algorithm won't recommend our videos unless you engage with it. Thank you, and now let's hop in. You can't change anything on your own. So either you're gonna have to rally a bunch of people to fight for that. He's trying to get the union together. That's good, right? So that's a good movement.
Yeah.
But then the other step is save, acquire assets, build wealth, and then come back and say, hey, let's do this better. Let's make the system less rigged.
Yeah.
Right?
I do get what you're saying. I guess I just want more context on like how much of his money he needs to spend on bills and day-to-day things and how much time he actually has. Because I feel like practically saving isn't really an option for someone in his position.
Well, it's always an option. He's still very young. So he could just live with 4 or 5 roommates. The houses in California are pretty big. So you find a set of roommates and you save the money. You don't go out, you cook. You don't go to bars every night. Yeah, you don't have a social life. I didn't have a social life in college. And now I'm at the point where I can just relax. Right? So you have to sacrifice to get where you want to get. And no matter where you are, if you're young like him, or even if you're not young, you have to bury your ego. You have to say, hey, I don't want to live with 10 people, but I have to live in a community setting and shower in a shared bathroom.
It's just like
it's not great, but that's how it is right now. You can't change right now, tomorrow. So you have to work until you can, and take the small steps. And he's just saying, I'm just gonna sit out and complain while I can't even afford to eat and pay my bills. So he's just complaining. He's not doing anything about it. He's saying I'm sitting out of the game. That's why I'm even approaching this right now. You don't like the system, but it's not like you're saying, "Oh, I'm gonna quit my job and not play the game." You're playing the game. You own a house. This is part of playing the game. You saved up for that.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like I think they said earlier, luck is a part of it, and I feel like I mean, I did go to college, but I was somewhat lucky in that I was able to find a really good company, and luck is my definition of luck, which is one you might have heard, is preparation meets opportunity. You prepared for that. You were a great student in high school, probably much better than me, and eventually you got to a point where you got to a good college. You did your part in college, and then because you took all those internships, you took the chance on going to California without even having a job, and you landed in a great job that treats you well. Well, but if you take it back even further, I was lucky enough to be born into a family where, we were not homeless, and we,
most families are not homeless.
Yeah, I guess that's true. All right. I just feel like many stars have to align in order for you to be able to play the game.
Can you change that?
Like as you grow older?
Can you change the fact that stars have to align?
No.
You can't. So you have to make do with what you have.
Okay, I agree with that part.
Yeah, that's my point. And he's just saying, I'm going to sit out and then complain.
Yeah.
So I like David for the most part, for what he said so far, but this is not good. You can't just sit out the game and not play it and then say, oh, I don't like the game. Well, no one cares about you then. That's just how it is. You're going to complain. The world is going to keep moving on. The world's not going to stop.
Yeah.
When Michael Jackson died, I was very sad. I was in, I think, middle school or high school. I was extremely sad. But the world goes on. No matter how important someone thinks they are and the world thinks they are, when they're gone, they're gone. So if he's sitting out the game, no one sees them. He's out of mind, out of sight of mind.
Yeah.
So he's making himself a less productive part of the movement.
Yeah.
But not playing the game. That's my whole thing with him on this one.
Okay.
As a real estate guy, I can make millions of dollars and use the exact same tax loopholes that a Donald Trump would use and pay effectively no tax. And does that make me a bad guy?
Donald Trump does criminal things. So we know that now. And his accountant went to jail for doing illegal things for Donald Trump.
Love that.
So, hey, buddy, be careful. Right. Yeah, you don't want to tie yourself up with Donald Trump because there are definitely legal loopholes, but Donald Trump created loopholes, which is called cheating the system.
Yeah.
Or did I just study the tax code?
It makes you back guy. Yeah.
No one studies the tax code. I don't study the tax code. I pay some accountant who studied the tax code. You're not studying the tax code.
Yeah.
What is that?
You think so?
If you do that, yeah.
I'm following the law to a T.
Sorry, I missed that part.
You think so? Does that make me a bad guy, or did I just study the tax code?
It makes you back guy, yeah.
You think so? If you do I'm following the law to a T.
That's hilarious.
Wrong. Yeah.
Why is it wrong? It's the law.
I'm not.
Do you think
that's fair?
The law is always right?
No,
David's right. I was just following orders. It's the law. We had a discussion before.
Mm-hmm.
Back in about police brutality and all of that. Yeah, the law is a law. Police can do whatever they want, but is that good?
I mean, every bad thing was within the law at some point until it was made illegal.
Exactly.
So I think this is probably the most simple argument in the whole episode.
Yeah. It's a law, so I'm not bad. Well, yeah, I mean, you can kill someone like Kyle Rittenhouse. You can just shoot someone because they threw a plastic bag at you. And then the law says, oh, you're fine. You're self-defense. Okay, so are you not a bad person for killing someone because they threw a plastic bag at you because they stepped on your lawn?
Well, this goes back to my point earlier where, the government doesn't regulate, minimum wage and whatnot as much as they should. Mm-hmm. And so companies don't abide by it. But that means that companies are doing a wrong thing. Mm-hmm. It's not illegal, but it's still wrong. So I feel like, I don't know. I wish we talked about that more as a society. Like, instead of seeing commercials about McDonald's new whatever, I want to see commercials about, I don't know. McDonald's, pay your people more. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it should just be spoken about more. Like, companies should have to own up to, it's not illegal, but we are wrong.
Bernie Sanders did that. He pressured Amazon so much. He was on them so much in the public, just harassing them. Like, you guys not paying people what they should be paid. We haven't changed the law, and I'm part of the Congress, but I'm doing my best, and Congress isn't moving because of the Republicans. But you are not being a good person, a good part of society. And so Bernie just stuck it to them until they raised the minimum wage to $15 per hour. And then after they did that, Amazon started to lobby their competitors to say, hey, we're paying $15 per hour. You guys should do the same too. Mm-hmm. Because Amazon knows now, hey, we did our part. And if you don't do your part, then we're at a disadvantage. So once you make one of them move, like the big guys, you make one of them move, they're gonna start get on your side and say, hey, you guys, Walmart, you gotta increase your minimum wage too.
Yeah.
Costco, increase your minimum. Costco's a good company, so they already did that.
They've been on it for like a decade.
McDonald's increased theirs, right? Because they want to have a fair playing field. So you get one of them, the dominoes fall. So I agree. The government isn't doing their part, but businesses should do better. But again, they don't have to. No, what's the incentive? Why should I disable or disadvantage myself? Right? If I want to survive and I want to buy a yacht, hey, the system says I can, so I'm going to do that because everyone else is going to do that.
Yeah. The incentive is, if not, I don't know, people being able to afford a comfortable life, the incentive is just public opinion. And so I guess that's just where it's up to people to just talk about it more and acknowledge it more. And now we have social media, so talk about it more on social media. Otherwise, they'll just be allowed to get away with just nonsense, just like that. I know, whenever we're watching TV and there's a commercial, and it's people are just running in the sunshine with their whatever. It's that looks so fantastic, but how much are you paying your people, and how do you treat your people, and what's their day-to-day like?
Family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We're all families, but when they go back home at night, they don't even have a clean bed to sleep in because they're sharing a bed with everyone else in their apartment.
Like David.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that.
But that's what she is saying.
Investment is what the law is written to encourage certain things. If you disagree with it, you can go lobby and change. But he's not a bad guy.
I know you mentioned that there are barriers in place that do keep people kind of in impoverished conditions, but I don't think that we all acknowledge like the mental.
Well, that's where I was going. So if I can reflect on myself, I mean, I remember when I was living in poverty, I was just trying to survive. So I didn't even have the brain capacity to try or the willpower to kind of even desire to access the rules of the economy. But I mean, I had an epiphany, and I literally woke up one day and I was like, I cannot live the rest of my life like this. And I don't care if people call me lame, square, they're going to question my blackness. I mean, I don't care. I'm getting out.
Well, speaking about blackness, do you think there's a correlation between people from the African diaspora and people of color and poverty? You think there's like a relationship there?
It's true that, I belong to a community that makes less than certain other communities. That's true. Significantly less. But you can't look at differences between groups and say it's only because of systems. Systems played a huge deal to it. I'm not discounting that at all. Like, it's a real big deal, and we're working to change that. But also, I mean, statistically, like...
That's why I like him. He recognizes the problem, but he still plays the game so that he can work towards helping fix it.
Yes, and I think people should do that, but I'm still not sure that it's a real expectation for most people to do that, because the system is very powerful.
It goes back to the weekend. We're here on a Saturday sitting down recording a video. We couldn't always do that. People fought for that. Right? So people should fight.
Yep.
Eventually, you will get enough power, enough momentum to make a change. And minimum wage was not always $7.25. It was way less. We at one point, we didn't even have it. People fought for that. They played a game. They got some power, and they fought for it because they had collective power.
Yeah.
So people have power. It shouldn't be all on the people. It should be the government. But the government is by the people for the people. So if we want things to change, we have to collect and go lobby against all of the billionaires. But the problem is now, thanks to the Supreme Court, that the billionaires also can lobby the politicians, which was not always the case. And so, not just lobby, actually fund them, like give them a whole bunch of money, right? So now we have less power. So that's the real issue. We have to get the money out of politics. And that's how we actually solve some of these. Most of our problems are because of money in politics. And so, yeah, the system is broken, but you have to play the game. And that's what he's doing. That's why I like him.
People from my old neighborhood and people, around in these communities, they spend about 50% more on shoes than people who are not in those neighborhoods. And it's like, man, that...
Well, not only that, Todd, but I think I looked up a recent statistic that said that Asian households, their children tend to study 13 to 15 hours a
week. I hate
week.
This part of this video. We had this discussion in college. This was the one I was walking you through the cycle of the system in Lakeside. They put the people of the power and the money, they put these bad things in black communities. They take all the white people out, the white flight, take them out. Then they put the gun shops in. They put the liquor stores in. They put the Foot Lockers and all the other commercial things in.
KFC.
And KFCs, and then they take all the grocery stores out. And then they say, "Oh, don't buy that stuff. It's your choice." Well, I don't have a grocery store. I only have shoes to buy. I don't have bookstores to go sit down and do research on Wi-Fi and drink some coffee, right? I don't have all these things that you guys do. So yeah, I'm gonna buy the shoes. And why should I not buy shoes? I'm a person too. I want shoes. Sure, you shouldn't buy all of them and the most expensive ones, but I want to have fun too. I want an iPhone. Sure, it's not the best economic choice, but I'm also a person. Today, all the phones in this country are expensive. No matter what, I'm gonna have to pay $1,000 for a phone. So you can't really blame the person when the whole system has been designed purposefully to have them pay for those things. So they take all of their money and they say, put it into the liquor, the guns, and the shoes and the commercial stuff, and then they come on Jubilee and blame the black people because their kids are not studying more. Well, the Asian people, they're in the white neighborhoods because they're allowed to be. The black people aren't allowed to be. They literally are not allowed because the real estate agents, the realtors, and the people who own the buildings, they say we don't want them here, and the neighbors. And so all the good stuff is in those neighborhoods because they've put all the resources there. And so then you turn around and say, oh, well, the Asians are studying more than the black people. Well, the black people don't even have food to eat, so they can't even think about eating or think of studying. They can't sleep because they don't have enough food. And so they go to school, they're not even learning because they don't have any energy. And so the cycle continues. And then we come on this, and she's the black survivor, the model minority, wants to talk about, oh, the other minorities doing well. Why can't we do the same thing? I'm sorry. That always boils my blood.
I think it's a really good point. I think, I agree with everything that you're saying. And I think the whole point of it is just that what she's saying is missing context and history.
Yeah. They always want to pinpoint and try to pit minorities against each other and say, oh, they're doing well, why can't you? Well, have you seen your skin color? Have you seen mine? There's a big difference.
Yeah.
People don't want mine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, everything that I need to do better is in that place, and they keep me out of there.
Yeah, and let's look at the schools that, the black students are going to in a lot of parts of the country.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious why they're not studying as much as, Asian students, as she said.
And so here's my context. I've seen both sides. I lived in the inner city and went to the schools. They were poorly staffed. The kids could not focus. Like I explained, they don't have the resources to be focused. And not even enough teachers. And then I was fortunate enough, and I say fortunately just economically fortunate, not because I want to be around white people and I don't like black people, but because I was fortunate enough to go to a school where white people were able to build up a great system because they had all the resources. And so I went to the white school with all the Asians, and we studied more because we had the resources to. And so I ended up doing better than most black people. But that's my privilege. That doesn't mean that I'm better than other black people because I was able to make it. I've made it despite the bad things that happen. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, the Asians study so much better than black people. Yeah.
In households, their children tend to study 13 to 15 hours a week, where in a black household, it's like 3 hours a week.
I know you said it's not a race issue, but when you think about the way that we got here as like African people, it was a race issue. We didn't have a chance to discover America like the other people did. So I feel like how you mentioned that Asian Americans, they study more than black households. You don't feel like those communities are kind of socializing
not her, but the other girl,
inclined to care about their finances as opposed to like African Americans, we would rather look rich than actually be rich. I think that's a part of like our community.
It's a culture. It's a choice.
Well, it's a culture. It's
to a certain extent.
I think it's a choice.
I feel like she's confusing like what happened first and where we are now.
Chicken and egg.
Right. People didn't choose to come to America with and pay for super expensive shoes and just choose to be poor. People were brought here and then they were disenfranchised and abused. And now we are at the point where we are now where, they're not studying as much and
because they can't afford to. Because all the resources are out. We don't even have to go back to the slave boats. Today, they don't give us the resources.
Yeah.
They literally do the opposite. They take it out. So she's just the worst of the people.
To be fair, I think, what was his Bill? I think Bill is the worst.
None of these people. I'm talking in general. I don't want to say which people, but yeah. She's just the model minority, the survivor who thinks she's better than everyone else and pits her own people against everyone else. She's the Candace Owens, the black girl who's paid by Republicans to blame black people for all their woes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
quite the job.
She's the MAGA girl, the Donald Trump's black person.
Is she the girl who?
She has straight hair. She's on Fox.
She has like green eyes or something.
I don't know. I haven't looked at her that deeply.
Got it.
Choice. I'm not gonna say it's not a choice, but I'm saying, do you feel like
David said it's not a choice.
Have the same choices as other people in different communities?
What did they say? I missed it.
David, she says a choice, and then the lady said, I'm not gonna say it's not a choice, and David said it's not a choice.
Oh,
yeah, I'm gonna say it's not a choice.
Got it.
Don't have the mental capacity to allocate the energy to learn the rules of the game, quote unquote, because their instincts are kicking in to just survive.
I think trauma plays a bigger role than we like to account for. Trauma is
give you that.
Here, I come from a family, a heavily cult Islamic family, and the things that I was doing in my life they didn't agree with. They pretty much sent people to my house to kill me. I was set up multiple times. They hacked my social media pages and both my iPhones. You know what I mean? So I don't want to just kind of ignore trauma as if it doesn't really matter in terms of what you are capable of doing, because people that are traumatized and people that do deal with a lot of oppression tend to get some of their choices removed.
I can acknowledge that, yes.
She can acknowledge that.
I'm an author and I'm currently homeless, so I don't make any money right now. I grew up Muslim my entire life, and in Islam it is permissible to marry your cousin. So my family enforced sexual acts in between cousins and led to me having to flee my hometown and come all the way to California, which is 2,600 miles away, just that I can avoid being killed.
I've worried where my next meal will come from.
Well, she's an author and she's homeless.
She's an author?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe don't be an author when you're homeless. Maybe go get a second job.
I agree. I mean, I wish people were allowed to pursue creative fields regardless of pay and whatnot, but that's just not how the world works.
Yeah, if you're gonna, I'm an author. I wrote a book, published it in college. I write today, but that's not how I make my money. That's just what I enjoy as my passion. So I do it. But I'm not going to just say I don't need any other job because I'm going to be author. So if I'm going to go homeless, I'm going to get another job.
Yeah.
So I guess that part was her choice. She can always go get a second job. She seems like a very smart person. She has the clothes. I think she can go get a grocery store job at the very least.
Well, that's the problem with Bill as in acknowledging, because I feel like Bill is someone who would say, well, the person who started that grocery store invested all of their money and their time, and so you're just an employee. And it's like, well, so if we want people to work at grocery stores as a way to bring in money, then we should pay them above $7 an hour, which I think someone like Bill is against doing.
Yeah, I agree. But even in her situation, I don't think she has another job. She hasn't said that. She says she's an author.
I do agree.
So go get a grocery store job.
A job.
Yeah, get $7.25. At least get that.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like we need more context. I would be surprised if she was literally like just being an author.
She didn't mention that. She said she was homeless and she's an author. She could have. I feel like that's a big detail she left out if that was the case.
Yeah. That
I have another job.
That's a weird combo, homeless and author. So.
I don't know if it's weird, but
like, oh, that's a chance come. Like, that's just not a smart combo. Yeah.
Meal will come from.
Me and my partner right now are applying for EBT because we are just like living check to check right now, and I'm supporting both of us because she just lost her job. We are like literally trying to get help from the government so that we can know that we have the funds to get groceries. It's so hard, and it feels like it's not as accessible as people make it seem.
To have everything stripped away from you and to not know where you're gonna sleep, it's just very difficult. You know, it almost feels like a past life of having like everything. You know, I had bags. I had to take my little Michael Kors bags to the pawn shop, take every item of clothing that I had to Plato's Closet so I could buy a one-way ticket for myself and my child. I didn't know what we were going to eat. I didn't know where we were going to sleep. And not to be a victim, but it's not my fault why I'm here. You know, it's because I speak out against cult behavior. I speak out against pedophilia. And publishing my story has the domino effect of that has led me to not knowing where I'm going to eat, and I've never had that happen to me before prior to 4 months ago. And that's just really tough.
Oh, this is recent.
Thank you for sharing your story. That's really powerful. And if you need help, like after this, let's just talk. That pulls on my heartstrings because
Todd?
My mother raised us 3 kids by herself, and my father was a
good guy.
He was also a child molester. So anyone listening can connect the dots on that. I feel for you.
I almost want to jump out because it was only a short period of time. Just that short period of time when you busted or whatever, and you're just like whatever. But you guys were like in the real thick of it. You guys are in the trenches. I visited the trenches for like a couple.
You have time.
So I'm getting paid paycheck to paycheck, and on top of that, I have a crippling gambling addiction. I'm addicted to weed. I'm addicted to alcohol. I'm addicted to vaping. And as soon as I have that direct deposit, it's like I have no control. Almost like I black out and I start gambling, start ordering drinks, start ordering weed, and then I come out of that no control feeling, and I'm like thinking, how am I going to feed my pets this week? My cat, my dog. Like I had all these plans up to my payday. Before I know it, all my money's gone. And it's addiction.
She's not the most empathetic.
Well, yeah. And I think she knows that.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how addictive weed is.
I've heard of it being addictive. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I think any habit can be addictive, even if like the substance isn't addictive.
That's true. Yeah. I've been addicted to work.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I guess she just enjoys it so much. Yeah.
Well, enjoys it and is using it as a
clutch
way to suppress feelings.
When you're in a position when you don't have a lot of money, you can't do a lot of things for fun, and you're often just like working. I have to survive. I have to feed myself. And so when you get that paycheck and you have just a little bit of enough money to do something that will spark joy for you, it's so hard to be like, no, I'll put it aside to save. It's like, I'll just do this one thing for myself. I'll just treat myself. And then it's like, well, now it's gone.
I completely understand what you're saying, and I used to think like that too, but I also thought about how joyful it would be to be rich. I would rather not have that instant gratification, because the gratification of being infinitely stable or more stable is more important.
Yeah, definitely.
My name is Brittany. I am a holistic health practitioner, and I make around $130,000 a year. My relationship with my brother has literally crumbled since I have acquired more money. He only calls me when he needs something. The only person that I really have a relationship is my mom. I haven't spoken to my brother. I want them to be happy and successful more than anything. But it almost feels dehumanizing to be looked at as just the help and not a sister or a cousin or something like that.
Yeah.
My name is Mia, and I'm currently working as a customer service representative for a moving and storage company. I make $45K a year.
Oh, it's more than David.
My family has always been like, oh, you gotta look
$1,000 more a month.
You gotta look nice.
No, wait, I wonder where she lives though. Maybe we missed that.
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah. But I mean, David is in a super expensive part of the country, and he's making less. So either way, she's better off.
Yeah, he's in the most expensive, I believe.
I think SF would be probably the most, but yeah, she's in like top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
To eat or to the mall, but as an adult, a lot of my money isn't going towards buying new clothes or jewelry, makeup, whatever it might be. So you'll catch me in like sweats and a t-shirt, and I just don't feel presentable enough to be at the mall, to be at a restaurant, because of that embarrassing feeling and shame of not investing more in how I present myself.
The disagree.
You're just hanging out back there.
Oh, wow.
I feel like I misunderstood the prompt.
So have you ever worried about where your next meal is going to come from?
Oh, no, I definitely have. Like when I was in college, I was trying to buy groceries.
She hung back because she was
the lady behind me ended up paying groceries for me, and it's so embarrassing because my card got maxed out and I had no money in the bank account basically.
$15 an hour is not enough for minimum wage.
I did have a question for you two. You both mentioned that you suffer from addiction and that as soon as you get a paycheck, it's gone, whether it's gambling or weed or shopping or whatever. If you had a higher income, would that change?
Personally, yes, because the whole reason I gamble is like, let me get that $60,000 win and I'll stop gambling. That's my mindset, right? And another thing is, I feel like if I were to have like passive income, I guess you can say, or be financially stable, I can pursue and distract myself with my actual passions. Like, I want to start a true crime YouTube channel, but I don't have the...
Here's the thing. That's a great question he asked, because she might not even be that bad with weed. It's just that weed costs a certain amount, and that happens to be her entire paycheck, because she only makes $7.25 or whatever she makes. So if she was to get double to 15, she could then still have weed, but afford to save and do something else and prepare for the future. So I think, yeah, if we at least just double it, everyone will be better off. Like, just, you have a whole other paycheck every week now by just doubling the minimum wage. And so as long as you don't just increase your lifestyle, which humans tend to do, as long as she doesn't go and just double her weed intake once it's $15 an hour, then she would have a much better chance of actually having a chance at improving her situation in the future.
Yeah. Well, I think her biggest issue would probably be the gambling, because you could have, $1 million and still be bankrupt with that problem. But yeah, something like weed, that could definitely be more manageable with a livable wage.
Yeah, same with David. If David had more money, he could probably do more things that he cares about and play the game and save up and then come back and help change the system too. So having people not having, it's like you barely have enough money to even survive. So if you were to just double that, then you have money to survive. Plus now you can actually be a part of the system to actually contribute and be productive in buying things in the society and invest in buying assets and all of that. So yeah. One
thing on David, because I think that's a good point. If he had more money, he would have more opportunity to like have an impact. But also what more money brings is like networking and just having more people at your disposal who have more connections or have more knowledge in the things that you're passionate about. So yeah, that would also open up like a whole new world of opportunity for him that you don't really get when you're, a costume person at Disney.
Yeah, definitely.
The laptop, I don't have a camera. The addiction takes control, so I don't think about the things I don't have, and I just feel numb and thoughtless, and I'm just enjoying my TV. And so yeah, I feel like it would change. I would be able to have other distractions that are beneficial to me in a positive way.
If you had more money, you could probably have access to help, like medical.
Yes.
Psychiatrists, because that's really expensive, and you can't afford it living off the minimum wage.
I feel like a lot of jobs will pay minimum wage, but they will expect maximum effort.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's what we're talking about.
If you're going to pay me minimum wage, I'm putting in the bare minimum effort.
I've always looked at it the opposite way. Like, if I go into a company and they're paying me minimum wage, I do everything that I can to get promoted. Hi, my name is Todd.
I agree with that.
I'm 29 years old.
Definitely.
I'm a real estate investor and YouTuber, and I make about
Yeah, we can agree with it. And we both do, that you should work harder than where you are so that you can get in a better position. But most people are just trying to survive. They're too exhausted. They have 5 jobs because you're not paying them enough. So they can't afford to try to get promoted at your job because they won't have to try to get promoted at all 5 jobs, and they would just fail.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I will say, I think out of your own personal interest, if you're at a company or in a position that has upward mobility, you should work above like a minimum wage level. But from the company's perspective, if you're only going to pay people minimum wage, I don't think you should expect them to work at, at whatever salary.
Well, it'd be dumb to, because why would they do that? Think about yourself. Why would you work harder than you're being paid?
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have the chance at promotions and all of that. Most people don't have that chance. Most people don't even ask for a raise.
Yeah.
Because they're just lucky. They just feel lucky to have the job, and they're afraid that they're going to get retribution if they try to even ask for a little bit more money.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's very abusive.
Yeah.
Like $4 million per year. When you grow up the way I did with no money and your mom is struggling and crying yourself to sleep every night because you can't pay the bills, that takes a toll on you as a kid and seeing that struggle.
Yep, I agree with that.
I got my first job when I was 12 years old, literally shoveling horse poop for $3 an hour. And I looked at myself when I was 12 years old and I was like, you've got to make $1 million a year by the time you're 30.
My name is Sean. I'm 23 years old. I'm a musician and content creator, and I make minimum wage at a retail job. If I wasn't having to work every day to pay my rent, then I would have more time to make music and connect with people and find venues to perform my music. And if I had the money, I would be able to market and promote my music so that it could reach a wider audience.
Yeah.
For me, my mindset is working minimum wage.
He disagreed.
It's always been like, okay,
the guy who just walked in.
Wage, but we're going to work harder to get promoted, and then we're going to do something else with our lives.
Many years ago, you could go live off the land. You didn't have to work for somebody in order to survive. All the land is taken.
Like him.
It's in federal land. You can't go fishing in these federal streams. You can't do that. So that's not possible at scale. In order to survive, you must work for someone else. That forces wages down. Right? People can't just go, F you, I'm not going to work, I'm going to chill and work on my novel or do whatever. So that's the part where I agree with you. I'm a supporter of UBI so that people aren't forced to work. And where I disagree is that we don't pay people based on what they need. And you were kind of pointing to this. I give them minimal effort if you pay me minimum wage. But there's certain jobs that are not worth $15 an hour, just frankly not worth it. Maybe they're worth $5, maybe they're worth $2. I want you to watch.
What is 15? He's acting like 15 is just this absolute number. It's not absolute. It's a relative number. You're in a system. $15 is relative to what the economy, how the economy performs. So it's not like we're just saying 15 out of nowhere. It's not like 15 is this magical number. No, it's just what we think is a reasonable standard for the current economic system that we're in, conditions that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
TV for an hour in your house and tell me how many commercials come up because I'm doing a survey. I'm going to pay you $7 an hour. You think I should have to pay you $15 an hour for that? Or would you take $7 an hour to sit on your couch and count commercials that show up on the television?
I mean, yeah, I would take any money.
Okay, so everybody here agreed that it should be $15 an hour minimum wage.
Yeah.
But by making the wage $15 an hour, you just eliminated a job that he's willing to do.
It's not eliminated. Just pay him $15 an hour for it.
Yeah.
Because you can afford to. When that gets the reason we're trying to increase minimum wage is because you can afford to pay more. We're not just saying, pay $1,000 an hour. We're not saying that because no one can afford that. We're saying that because we've seen productivity go up and to the right like crazy while minimum wage has stuck. And so if we say minimum wage is now $15 an hour, you can definitely afford to just increase your pay for those people who are sitting on the couch. It's not that it's not worth it, it's that that's how the economic system, the economic conditions are now. You can afford it, and if you want that done in this condition, you have to pay what minimum wage is. So you're gonna pay for it. People are still gonna need survey people. You're still gonna want that service. All it is now, you have to pay a little bit more for it. And he's acting like, once you increase minimum wage, all the jobs are gonna be gone. Just magically. No one needs any more services. No one needs laborers anymore because minimum wage increased to a tiny amount. $15 an hour is nothing. It's way below what minimum wage should be. And this guy's acting like it's some magical number that just is going to wipe out all jobs in the market.
Yeah, not to mention he's the highest paid person here. But what I really don't appreciate about this example that he just threw into the conversation is nobody is saying, I want $15 or I want $60,000 a year for watching commercials on TV. People want money for teaching. They want money for working at the grocery store. They want money for working at clothing stores. And these are all jobs that we need. He needs someone to work at his grocery store.
Yeah.
So that's not that working at a grocery store and asking for a livable wage isn't the same as, can I just sit on my couch and watch, commercials for you and can you give me $70,000 for that? No, nobody's really asking for that. It's just like it's an unnecessary and insulting example.
Yeah. Another thing is he doesn't understand how the economy works. Every dollar someone makes is someone spending that dollar. So if you pay him more, then that means if you pay the people in the market more, then that means that they have enough money and more money to spend on your services and other people's services. And so one question he should be asking is, how many people even have a TV to sit on their couch and watch these services and do these services for me? You should want more people to make more money so that there can be more productive people in the economy who can buy your products and your services. It only helps to raise minimum wage. People get more money and they spend it. That's why we gave out those stimulus checks. We didn't do that for because we wanted to, because we're kind. The government doesn't care to be kind. They care to keep the economy working. And so they said, no one's spending money, let's give them checks. And they'll go out and buy whatever they feel like buying. Yeah. And the economy goes around. He doesn't understand how the economy works. Yeah. He doesn't understand that minimum wage actually will help him. Yeah. He even runs companies.
I was going to say that.
Or he invests in them. And those companies want to make more money. You make more money by getting more people in the economy who make more money. And they spend it. People spend money. That's the whole point of the system.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say specifically for him, that is, like, he's the worst person to have this opinion, I think, because he works for the record industry.
Oh, yeah, he is the label, label guy.
What those people want more than anything is for people to pay for music, which is something that people aren't really doing as much anymore. And I think, like, things like Spotify and whatnot, they give less to, like, record labels and artists than buying actual music, like on iTunes and whatnot. So if someone like him were more for people making more money, then we would have more money to spend on things like buying music. But if you're only going to pay someone, if you want to pay someone $7 an hour, then no, I'm not going to like use literally like 10% of my money to pay for your artist's
10%. Music is expensive. You want to buy the album? That's your whole check. Yeah, like your whole hour of work. Yeah. Maybe even 3 hours. So not even buying music, you don't even have to buy music for it to be worth it. Just buying Spotify. You make lots of money. You don't buy a Spotify. You say it's a great service. I'm not gonna buy that. Yeah. But if people actually made more money, Spotify wouldn't just increase their cost. It will stay relatively the same, maybe $1 more, but people are making 2 times more. And so now 2x more people can afford to buy Spotify. Yeah. So Spotify wins. Even if they increase their cost by $2 or $3, there's still a huge margin of more people who can afford now to buy that Spotify that costs 20% more while people are making 2x more money. Yeah. It only helps. This God is understand.
I know.
It helps the whole system.
Yeah. No, completely agree.
More money, more problems.
It's our personal life.
More money, more problems, but that's a path that I'm willing to take on because the problems that come along with not having money, I can't imagine going back there. I made it a point.
That's what we were talking about the other day. Yeah. Does money buy happiness? Yep. Yeah. And she's saying, yeah, I have another set of issues, which is people wanting me to be the help. But I would definitely choose this set of issues over the set of issues that come with being completely poor. I have less stressors. I can do the things I want. I can live a healthier life. I can go to sleep and actually sleep. Right? So money maybe doesn't buy happiness itself, but it's like what I was saying before. There's no such thing as cold. It's the absence of heat, right? That's what cold is. And so happiness is the absence of stress. So if you decrease your stress because you have more money to get rid of all those other stressors, then you've effectively bought more happiness. And so that's pretty much what she's saying. Hey, that was what I'm doing with it now is pretty bad, but those days when I had no money, that was a lot worse. I would not trade it.
Yeah, I think it's it really is a mindset thing. And well, I'm actually kind of confused on how she's answering this question, and maybe we should listen to the rest of her answer, because it seems like she is for like money brings happiness, and I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Position myself adjacent to people who I felt like I could learn from. I remember parking my little Chevy Cruze up off of Griffith Observatory in Hollywood Hills just to be around money.
You guys mind if I start?
Yeah, okay.
A lot of the problems in my life would be solved with just, not even if I was rich, but just like a little bit more money. I would just have so much less stress and less things to worry about, and I wouldn't be finding myself in these situations where I'm worried about how am I going to pay rent, how am I going to get gas to drive, how am I going to eat.
More money, like more social responsibility, right? Going back to
What does that mean?
like if you're a billionaire, then you have social responsibility to take care of people who might have less than you.
Really? I'm not seeing that.
Yeah.
In my
He's right.
life.
Billionaire me.
He's completely right, because we shouldn't be relying on billionaires to take care of us. That's the government's job. So tax the billionaires, make them pay their taxes, make them pay. The only effective tax that we have for billionaires is that we increase minimum wage, increase wages. Because if they pay more to people, then it goes back in the system. So if you pay more people, you won't have to depend on a billionaire to end world hunger. Just pay people what they deserve.
Yeah. And I don't understand why she would say that, because it's like she wants billionaires to have more social responsibility in theory, but in practice, you should change your mindset and choose to be rich and like make different choices, because billionaires are not responsible
Exactly.
for your. So it's like I feel like she wants to have it both ways.
Yep.
And David's not having it.
David's not having it.
In modern day life, what are billionaires?
I want to add real quick to what you were saying, that I had my first felony when I was 14 years old. I had gotten a DUI in 2018, so I was still going in and out of courthouses. I'm struggling trying to get a job, applying, getting interviews, getting a job offer, background check, offer rescinded, and that hurts a lot.
Oof.
But I'm over here watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Yolanda Hadid's daughter just so happens to also get a DUI, but she's taking off in her modeling career like it was just a hiccup. I'm also seeing cases of affluenza, where this kid driving his dad's truck drunk killed someone, and he gets off for affluenza, which means you're too rich to know what's.
It wasn't one girl; it was a whole family.
You don't get any repercussions.
Yeah, it was
me.
Hollywood too.
I agree with my punishments. I messed up, and I will accept it.
They wanted to be fair treatment.
Exactly, because when I see that, it's just slap in the face. Like, what is the justice system? That's not justice.
Listen, I like the song "More Money, More Problems."
I like it too.
It's a jam, but it's really more money, different problems.
Yes.
That's a couple.
We did it.
Oh. That was good.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, final thoughts?
Not really. I guess just I feel like I am a super layman. I really have no deep knowledge of the economy at all, but I think there are just very simple truths that people should think about, or I think we should accept, but if you're not going to accept it, then just think deeply about it. Because I feel like David is a perfect example of providing a service, something that you would take your children to, something that you look forward to, something that the American dream is based off of, like Disney, going to Disney and all of that. But, someone who provides what he provides doesn't get paid as much as he should, even though he's working for however many billion.
258.
Yeah, it's just not right. And at the end of the day, I feel like the economy is complex. But yeah, there are just simple like rights and wrongs, and not being paid a livable wage is, when you're providing a valuable service, is wrong.
Yeah, it hurts everyone. It hurts all of us. And I just realized it's just, if we can't tax the billionaires because they are not actually making any money, you're just taking out debt, fine, that's great, but we should just make them pay people fair wages that helps all of us. Because like I said, the economy works in a cycle, right? In a circle. every dollar you make is a dollar somebody else spent. And so if people have more money to spend, you make more money. Businesses do better. There's more productivity because people are less stressed. They can produce more. We do better as a country. We defeat China and Russia and all the other people we don't like or we want to compete with. And all of us wins. We all win. So there's really no reason, there's no good argument to not increase minimum wage. And even $15 is not enough. And I consider myself to be someone who I make a lot of money, but I don't consider myself rich because I invest all of it, so I don't really have much to really use. But given that, I still see the world in a full picture. But some of these people here, they only see it from a pretty selfish point of view. That, oh, I worked hard, and so I made it, I'm happy, and you guys didn't work hard enough, so we don't need to help you. And there's no benefit of helping you. There is benefit of helping people you don't know, because it comes back to you. That's how the whole system works. So yeah, I would probably sit on the rich people side, because I made $500,000 last year. So yeah, or nearly so. So in all of my ventures, so people just need to see the full picture. And they make it so hard.
Yeah.
But that's the show. I hope you all enjoyed that. That took a lot longer than I expected. I think that was an hour or a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
like an hour.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching that. That was fun.
Agreed.
And yeah, having a discussion.
If there are any comments that Lincoln or I had that you don't agree with and that we didn't rebuttal one another on, then I would be curious to know. So I like to think that we're relatively open-minded people. So yeah, I would like to hear other perspectives if we didn't already hear it.
Definitely.
Today.
Yeah. If you ever disagree with anything we say on this channel, love to hear from you. It's a channel for learning, so we don't all have all the answers, and we all have some answers. So let's share our own perspectives. Yeah. So if you enjoy that, let us know in the comments below, and we might do more of it, because there's many of these videos, many similar ideas that we can discuss.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're interested in learning about investing in the stock market and real estate and just building wealth overall, we have many videos at bullacademy.org on YouTube. You go check them out, investing in stocks and all of that. So, and understanding what stocks are, warrants, investing, just in general, building wealth. Go check out our videos and subscribe if you're interested to see more in the future. Hit the notification bell so you never miss any of our videos. And I would just love to hear from all of you, even if you just want to say hi. Hi. I hope to make more of these videos, and I can only do that if you all engage. So again, thank you. I'm Lincoln with bullacademy.org. This is my girlfriend, Tabitha, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure she hopes so too.
I hope you did.
And yeah, I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.